Hi everyone, hope you're having a good Saturday. It's February 12th and I'm up here in the art room, a place I don't come up to that often anymore unless I want to do a little weightlifting, because I've got my weights up here as well. But I'm going to do some artwork. It's been something I've been meaning to do for a dog's age, and I just thought I'd actually get to it today since it's kind of a miserable day out anyhow. I thought a good example of some of the stuff I do might be to start out showing how I do what I call rock paintings. Basically, I find flat rocks, and I have a few locations where I go to for these. Obviously, you would need to have access to similar things. You don't have to paint on this exact kind of rock. This is limestone, fairly solid rocks at the locations I get them. You don't want the ones that just break apart easy. And they have flat surfaces. Some of them may have holes in them, which can be good for putting little bits of leather through if you want to hang them on a necklace, or give them away as a gift for things like that, or as a pendant of some sort. This little one I just painted up in fancy little colors here. I just need to get the camera to focus on it a bit better. There you go. Just multicolored little thing. Anyhow, I just wanted to describe the process I go through to create one of these little rock paintings. Here's an example of a common loon on its nest that I did quite some time ago. I used to do these to sell for cheaper items at art shows that I would attend, where I was trying to sell my larger paintings. And people liked these because they were relatively inexpensive, whereas it was harder to get people to buy the larger full-fledged paintings, which might go for several $100s if they're framed up and all that kind of thing. So it was always a good seller. I would sell these for $10, $20, $30, depending on the size of them. And you're obviously not making a ton of money because it takes you a few hours to make them. So it's not a big money maker, but they're nice little gifts, whether you're making them for yourself just to have in your house on display, or to give away to relatives or friends for special occasions, weddings, birthdays, what have you. They make nice little gifts that people like. You can set them up in little stands on display, or in display cases, or wherever you want to put them, basically. So I'll probably start off with a rough-in process taped in normal speed on the video camera, and then I'll switch over to time-lapse when I get into painting the more detailed parts of the painting, just because it would take too long otherwise on normal speed. So this video will focus on the creation of a rock painting, and then also profile some of the ones I've already done. Hope you enjoy it. So this is just the general setup here. I've got the rock here in front of me on the art table. I've got my palette with my colors set out. You can see I've only got a few colors. The actual reference material I'm going to be using today is a photo I took of a barred owl a number of years ago out in the back of our property here. So I'm going to be using this as a reference for the painting. Now, being such a small painting on this little rock, it's not going to be extremely detailed. I'm just going to try and get the general sense of the owl in the habitat, and that's basically what I'm aiming for. Try to get the correct shape and coloration and that kind of thing. No, not extreme detail, but try to get a feathery look obviously to it in the end. But so just using a small narrow pointed brush, I'm going to rough in the general outline of the owl, and just try to, I think I like the rock better this way for this outline. I'm also going to be mixing a bit of matte medium, acrylic matte medium, with the paints to begin with. That helps it adhere to the surface, at least for the first few coats. So I think I'll use a burnt umber. I forgot to mention the colors I'm using are burnt umber, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow medium, white and titanium white, and ultramarine blue. So now I'll just mix a little bit of the matte medium in there just to give it a bit more sticking power, at least in the first few layers. So what I'm trying to do here is fit the head of the owl in this location. And this is just to give me a sense of size, basically. get my proportions correct as much as possible. Have the perch log in here, sort of. Now I'm not going to see all the tail the way I'm drawing it. But that may not matter too much, as long as you get the sense of the tail. I think I'll just actually paint this owl all in with dark tone, with a dark background tone overall, just to get the shape located. Hope my head's not getting in the way here. Now I'll just rough in some background color. The background in the picture is dark with some lighter branches in front of it. So I think I'll just put in a slightly greenish tone though for that, just to separate it from the owl. The paints I'm using for this are Liquitex jar color, or sometimes referred to as fluid color. They're more thinned out than the tube paints that you would buy. I assume Liquitex still makes these. I've been so poorly into my art for the last couple of years, I haven't even kept up on all the various brands of art materials out there and stuff like I always used to do. I used to know everything that was available when I was really into this. But it's most companies making acrylics do make a fluid color, and it's good for this kind of detailing type painting and flat covering of large areas, whereas sometimes the tube colors can be kind of difficult to get to cover in one layer, if you know what I mean. These are more opaque generally, a greater covering power as they call it. And again, now I could be using a much larger brush just for this lay-in, but it's such a small painting anyhow. I won't be saving a lot of time by doing that. I just wanted to show you the general approach for laying this little artwork in. Now this is a fairly simple little painting. There's sort of one subject with some background. Anyhow, from here I'm going to switch over to time-lapse just because it'll take too much video otherwise. So I've moved ahead here on the painting, basically refined more of the owl's feathers and added some lights and darks to start to develop a bit of shading on one side and light on the other. I've also worked in some background branches here and modeled the background a little darker with some additional dark colors. Now I'll go on to refine some of the branching and the twig work and the needles of the hemlocks in here, again in time lapse, just to save some space. So there you have it, a quick little barred owl on the rock. Again, this rock painting is only about 5 inches long and 3 inches high, so a fairly small surface to paint on, but as you can see, my surface textures are actually fairly rough as far as just not being extremely detailed, not rough to the touch, but just not extreme detail here. Just want to get across the basic sense of the owl and just a memory of the day. So from here on I will probably add a few more details, but I won't prolong the video. And then I would cover this with either a gloss or a matte varnish, just to give it a bit more unified sheen of one type or another, whatever you prefer, whether it's a matte sheen or a glossy varnish sheen. And then I usually date them and sign them, and just to remember when I did them. So there you go, quick little painting on the rock. If you haven't tried this, it's fun just to give it a try if you're into art and you have some art materials. Again, for this you need acrylics. You could use oils, I guess, but you want something that's fast drying, so acrylics are the best option here. They make nice little gifts, as I said, to give to relatives or friends on special occasions, that kind of thing. Or you can just use them to decorate your own house. Some people will also paint on rocks, usually not paintings to this degree, but they might just paint very quick little artworks and then put them outside. They are quite resistant to the elements, but they will eventually begin to break down. So if you want to keep your little painting in good shape, you need to keep it in the house. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed that. Fun little exercise to do if you're looking for something different to try out. Okay, thanks, bye.